going on, guys? Alex here with that 14 EDC, and today I'm ready to do my full review on quite possibly one of my most favorite Kizer knives ever, the Ti Sparrow. Now, this is, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, arguably, like I said, probably a top 3 Kizer for me ever. Almost a perfect EDC knife, almost a perfect knife in general. I really was blown away by this. If you guys remember my unboxing of this, as well as the Kizer Ka and the Kizer Dogfish, they were all 3 in a package via the Lefty EDC passaround group. So shout out to you, Kev. Thank you, my good friend. The Dogfish was the one I was really excited for out of those 3. And while I was happy with the knife, I enjoyed it. You know, I really liked the review. Pretty positive review. This was the one that really it just really blew me away. Like, I was expecting to like it, but I wasn't expecting to love it, because I reviewed the first Sparrow model from Kizer, basically the same version of this, just in micarta, I believe early last year, spring, sometime like that. And I liked it. Like, it wasn't, you know, the best knife I ever handled, but I thought it was a pretty decent knife. I think it was a decent positive review. So that's kind of what I was basing this off of. But something about just the titanium and the feel, and obviously Kizer just really does a fantastic job with their fit and finish, great action. Just Kizer does awesome things over there, and they make really good knives. And I was just blown away by it. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I would really have to sit down and look at every knife Kizer has made to see which ones I have handled and have reviewed. But this would have to be, I would say, probably at least top 5, if not top 3. It's a damn good knife, guys. So, you know, I'm going to do the thing, do the categories, all that. I'm expecting it to fall in the fantastic category. I really don't see why it wouldn't. There is one thing for me that's really kind of one main gripe with the knife, but for the rest, it's going to be a very positive review. So without further ado, we're going to get into materials. And you know, the first category, I will say this will be linked down below to White Mountain Knives. It is currently not available at this moment, but you guys can sign up for an email address and it'll notify you when it's back in stock. And I just like putting you towards White Mountain Knives because you can use someone's code and that'll take the price down even more. But obviously this is a titanium bodied knife. I don't know if it has a finish on here. Yeah, it doesn't have a finish, the finish type, but it has this sand blasted finish. It feels so good. It's very prone to scratching. That's one nitpick with it, or not nitpick, but a downside of it. But this finish just feels really good. You obviously have a flipper tab, a hole for deployment. You can see right there is a filler tab for your pot clip that is reversible, which is really nice. It's a milled titanium clip on this side, hole for deployment. Same hole for deployment. You guys can see my lips. Frame lock, sheepsfoot S35 VN blade. Blackbird Blades is the designer behind this. Kizer. Just a beautiful blade shape. Comes down to a thin edge. Nice blade stock. As for internal milling, there are pockets on both sides, so it's pretty lightweight for being a Ti frame lock. Some stats on this: 7.6 inches overall, a blade length of 3.27 inches, blade thickness of 0.12 inches. It says 35 VM, like I said, with the plain edge, sheepsfoot. Saying it's a gray titanium, but it's just plain Ti with a really nice blasted done to it. Frame lock with a 3D reverse clip designed by Vincent Rizzo, who is the guy behind Blackbird. That's a tongue twister. Blackbird Blades, and comes in at 4.02 ounces. So 4 ounces for a full-tide 3¼ inch blade knife. I think that's very fair. This is the only rendition of the Ti Sparrow, but honestly, I would love to see them do maybe a blackened Ti. Look really good. I think, you know, down the road, some fat carbon would look really good. I think they have a very good platform with this knife. You know, they've started with the micarta versions, kind of the budget versions, and they jumped up to the titanium version. And I think from, you know, everything else, you know, in Kizer's lineup, the way they can kind of move around different materials, I think that they have some more avenues they can explore with it, which I and I'm looking forward to seeing. But for the first category, materials, again, titanium, flipper tab, hole for deployment, 3D milled clip, S35VN for the price point. We'll say it's under $200. You guys know I like to kind of keep the price point hidden until the end, which if you're, fans of this knife, you know how much it costs, but it's under $200. So I think for those materials, especially with the milling, or excuse me, with the blasting and the feel of these scales, I got to go 5 out of 5. There's really nothing I can nitpick. S35VN, maybe you could get a little bit better of a steel for that price point, but Kizer does a good job with it. And again, I have no complaints. So next up is aesthetics. I really think this knife looks very good. I'm not a huge fan of the flipper tab, which we'll talk about in a minute. I guess I forgot to show you guys Sparrow. Yeah, Sparrow right there on the blade if my camera will pick that up. The flipper tab I think would look good taken off, but again, I'll touch on that later. But I think the knife looks really good. I love the sheep's foot, style blade. Hole for deployment looks really good the way it's milled out in that, flat up top with the hole. Handle looks nice. So I'm going to give it a 5 on the aesthetic as well. Again, nothing to complain about. I mean, I don't want to say, so I don't mind this from, I guess, an aesthetic standpoint, but we'll talk about more of the flipper tab in, later on. Next up is action. The D10 on this is super snappy for the thumb hole and the middle finger flick for both of those combinations. But the flipper tab could get a little bit of work. It's one of those cases where you tend to tune the D10 more towards one deployment method versus the other. Sometimes you get a knife with, a back flipper, a front flipper, and thumb studs, or with a hole, and they tend to, be awesome for all three deployment methods. But a lot of the times you get this where it is, weaker towards one and stronger towards the other one. You guys can hear snapping back into place. The middle finger flick is phenomenal. It is very snappy. It just rockets out of here. You get a nice sound, which we'll talk about on Acoustics in a second. But just flies out of there. Thumb stud, you get a really nice purchase, flies out of there. I really have had no issues with, putting too much pressure on the lock bar. As long as you kind of land down here with a clip for the thumb stud, the thumb flick. Oop, my sound on my computer. And then, you really don't have much pressure at all, because I miss it right there. That was more of a personal issue. Middle finger flick is great. You can slow roll the knife, works fine. Now for the flipper tab, it works. Don't get me wrong, it's not, it's not unusable as long as you put enough pressure on it, but it's kind of like a low profile flipper. So like you don't have a whole lot of real estate. And as you guys can see, it is very easy to, just kind of mushily pop out of there. So, I think that if you get this knife, or if I ever buy this knife, which I'm considering and have considered, I actually saw this from Brent over at Backpack B, the Knife Owl modder. He does his late night streams on YouTube. So he has his main channel, Backpack B, and then he also does Knife Owl, which is like a segment on his channel. He streams and does mods in his mod shop, which is his garage, I believe. But he took the flipper tab off and made this more of an ergonomic choil, which, takes it away from here, and you don't have to worry about the flipper tab. So that's more of, I guess, it's kind of a combination of a great between the action and the ergo department. But specifically with the action, it's just not tuned as well as the detent for the thumb flick and the middle finger flick. It just, they work so much better. And again, you can use it, but it just kind of like lazily pops out of there. And sometimes you do this and it doesn't pop out at all. Now for the close, one issue I have had too, but it's not necessarily with the knife as a whole, it's just with this knife, it needs some Loctite. But it's a pass-around knife, so I haven't had any, I don't want to Loctite it for the next person. I actually just tighten it up over this video, so it's still nice and tight, and you get that nice drop. But the issue I've had with this knife is the pivot has come loose after, if I'll tighten it up, I'll go down and I'll carry it for the day, or I'll fidget with it all night. And by the time I'm done, after an hour or two of fidgeting with it, the blade's pretty loose. So I probably had to tighten this knife up probably 5 or 6 times. But again, that can be avoided with thread locker or Loctite if it's your own knife, because I mean, it's locked up very tight right now, no blade play at all, and you're getting just buttery smooth action. So it's very, very nice on the close. You guys can sometimes get it to fall shut if you close it and get your hand out of the way at the same time, but it's not, it's just like, there you go. It's harder to do on camera, but it basically seats itself in. Just very smooth, on bearings, of course. So as much as I want to say the action is perfect, it is for the whole method. For the flipper tab, it isn't, so I got to knock it and go 4.5. So that is what's keeping it. That is, I'm telling you right now, this is how you're going to get 5s in every category but action, which it just got a 4.5, and ergos, I think it's going to get a 4.5 as well because of the flipper tab down here. But acoustics, doesn't give like the tings like some titanium knives do. But I think it's still pretty good. I guess I can't give it a 5. I don't know, it's really good. It just doesn't give you like those high pitched tings. I'm gonna go 4.5, I guess. I lied. I thought that everything else would get 5s, but 4.5 is still damn good acoustics from a titanium knife. If it just did a few more of those high pitched rings or tings, that would get it a 5. But ergos, I'm just gonna go 5s, sorry, 4.5. I'm getting ahead of myself, but again, the titanium has a really nice blasted finish to it. I can get all 4 fingers on this knife very, very easily. I'm not really killing myself to get on there. I have a little bit of the knife sticking out of the back. You have jimping up top here for your thumb. It lands right on it perfectly. Very, very comfortable. Pod clip sits flush to the scales, so it's not causing much of a hot spot at all. You have a nice natural restriction point here, pretty deep in hollowed out, I guess you can say. One thing I forgot to mention too with the action, you have plenty of lock bar access, which is really nice. Something I want to add in there, but this is very comfortable. Now you can use this, the flipper tab as sort of a choil to choke up. I would just be very careful with what you're cutting around because you are very close to slipping onto that edge. But the one thing that I would love to do with, taking the flipper tab off, doing a flipper tab delete, which gets it away from, you don't have to use it for the action department, but it also, you could smoothen this out quite a bit. And when Brent did it on his, it looked like it was so much of a better ergo experience choking up. You can still use it choked up. And choked back is very, very comfortable as well, which is probably the primary, whole grip that a lot of people use. And this is so close to being a positive 5 out of 5 rating, but I think that I just got to give it a 4.5 again, because although it's so comfortable here, and it is comfortable here, I just wish it was, that hump was chopped off and it was more level, and it would be such a more comfortable experience. Like I said, if I ever get this knife, which I have been strongly considering it, in the past couple weeks, because I know I'm going to miss this once I ship it out. I will probably talk to Brent and see if I can send it to him and have him do the same thing, because it just looks really good. And I'm sure, I've never felt it, never experienced it, but I just can tell just from looking at it that it's going to be that much more comfortable. So I got to go 4.5 out of 5 on the ergos. Very close to being a 5. It just needs, that choil really smoothed out and that flipper taken off. But next up is carry. It weighs in at 4 ounces for a 3 1/4 inch full titanium, frame lock. 4 ounces is very, very good. Now, I guess I lied to you guys. I thought everything else was going to be a 5. I fully prepared to come into this, only planning to knock it a little bit. I got to knock it a little bit more because I just feel like while the clip works really well and I think it looks good from an aesthetic standpoint, I feel like you could have, repositioned it or done something here to get the clip up a little bit more just to give you that extra deep carry. You have about this much taken up out of your pocket, which it doesn't necessarily bother me, but I love deep carry clips. You guys know that. I prefer to have deep carry clips, or if it's a milled clip, you know, just arrange it enough to get it as close as you can to the edge. And even though, you know, that's not a whole lot of real estate to move it up to, that extra bit counts. And I just, you know, it could be the difference from this much in your pocket to maybe that much. And it makes a difference. So although it is a great carry, you know, it sits in your pocket, you do have a flipper tab to take care of, or to worry about, but you know, the jimping is not very aggressive, so you can go in and out without causing too much of a stink. I never had any issues, you know, if you're going down for chapstick, change, medicine, things of that nature, you know, just to be aware of it, but you're probably not going to have any issues ever with it. You can carry it lefty or righty, which is nice. You have that flipper tab right there. Sits down in the pocket, very nice. You know, carries well. I just wish it had a little bit deeper of a carry. And I'm trying to be honest with you guys. I'm trying to be fully transparent, and you know, so we're gonna go from there. But that takes me to my final category of price point and what I recommend this knife. So price point on the Kizer Ti Sparrow is $159, and if you find it in stock on White Mountain Knives, you can use someone's code. So I think a 10% code would get you like 16 bucks off. So that takes you down to like $145. I think even at the full price, I think that's a very, very good deal. I can absolutely recommend it to you guys. Like I said, I think this is one of the best Kizers they've ever produced. Just such a good design. I love that blade shape. I love the finish on the titanium. It feels really good. Just the very, very, you know, small nitpicks of the clip I wish was being a little bit more deep carry, and the lightest detent of the flipper tab, as well as the flipper tab just not being the best ergonomic you know, way to hold the knife. But that can be easily taken care of just a small little flipper tab delete. So it's so close to being a perfect knife. And you know, if I ever get one and I have the mod done to it, I would definitely do a follow-up review just to see how much taking the flipper tab off would really improve the knife, which I, again, think it would a lot. So I can't recommend this knife enough, guys. I'm gonna sure as hell miss it. And like I've said like 6 times now, I might have to go snag one, especially when Kizer does sales throughout the year. Like, they always have some really good knives on sale. That might be the perfect time to pick this up. So yeah, that was my full review on the Kizer Knives Ti Sparrow. Let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are on the Sparrow. Do you have this one? Do you have one of the titanium, or excuse me, do you have one of the micarta versions? Love to hear what you guys have to say. So yeah, let me know down below. But I'm going to wrap this up now. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, day, night, whenever you're watching this. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.